Story 1 just found out my wife is cheating on me. I'm really confused on what to do. My wife and I have been together for nearly 10 years. We've been married for 5 years and have two beautiful girls, 5 and 7 years old. I make a great living. 6 figures in an engineering enough so my wife does not have to work. We have a 6-bedroom house with a yard and swing set in the back. My wife's mother and 15-year-old sister live with us, and I have been supporting them as well for over 2 years. Over the past few years, my wife and I were starting to have a lot of issues, and our relationship was dissolving. I could see it happening, so I convinced my wife to go to marriage counseling with me. We've been going nearly every week since April. Neither of us was happy, and counseling really opened my eyes to our destructive behaviors. I was working on becoming a better husband and father, and I thought my wife was working too. In October, I went away for a few weeks on business and was tipped off by a friend that my wife was spending a lot of time with a particular guy. I had met this guy once in the past and was told he was a friend of my wife's friends, and that was about it. Needless to say, I was on the next flight back home that night when my wife picked me up from the airport. She seemed distant and unexcited to see me. I had not said anything to her as to why I really had come back, just that I had missed her and the kids. When we got home, she immediately went to bed. I stayed up for a little while, and when she was asleep, I grabbed her phone. FYI, when your spouse starts keeping their phone on them all the time, even when they are sleeping or in the shower, they are hiding something. I found the guy's name and pulled up the text messages. She had to raise them all. A quick glance at the cell phone records showed over 20 text messages to him a day. I woke her up and asked her to explain this. She denied everything, said they were just friends, and she deleted them because she knew I would take it the wrong way. My suspicions grow larger every day, and I begin closely monitoring her cell phone records. It grows too much for me to bear, and I tell her that she needs to stop all communication with him. I even confront the guy civilly at his home and ask him to respectfully stop talking to my wife. He agrees to stop. My wife begins to hold resentment towards me because she feels I have broken up this perfectly acceptable friendship she has with him. She does, however, seem to stop texting and talking to the guy. I do, however, notice a sudden surge in her data usage from the phone, which I identified as Facebook messaging. She clings to her phone ever closer now and constantly denies any communication with the guy. I begin feeling paranoid and decide to put it behind me and focus on being a better husband and father. I start listening, helping more with the kids, being more involved with their daily activities, not stressing as much about money and other minor issues. I start doing my own laundry and the kids just to help out. I start trying to be involved with what's important to her and what she's passionate about. She loves horses. I bought her a horse a few years back, and I help her try to find a job in the industry so she can get out more and have self-worth. It's now January 15th, and we are going out for a big dinner to celebrate her brother's birthday. All of her cousins and friends are there, and we have a great dinner. Most everyone, including her, go to the bar next door after dinner. I was hanging back in the restaurant with one of her cousins when the manager approached me with her phone, asking if I knew who it belonged to. It was my wife's phone, and I opened up her Facebook app to find a bunch of messages between them. She says how much she loves him and misses him, how she misses the smell of him on her jacket and how she'll never take it off. She also refers to him as my one and only. The messages just get worse and I can't take anymore. Her cousin reads the messages as well and is also in shock after confronting her and reading through all the messages. She admits to me that she had feelings for him, but insists that they never had sex. She claims that they only kissed on 2 occasions. I tell her that I can't believe her and that I don't trust a word she says. I truly believe they didn't have sex, but I won't tell her that. She tells me that she was with him because of me and the years of neglect I gave her. I feel like my world is collapsing around me. I feel betrayed, furious, and foolish all at once. I don't want to get a divorce, but I don't want to be married to someone that doesn't love me. She says she wants to work through this, but I don't know what I want yet. I feel like she is yearning to find her individuality and wants to prove that she doesn't need me. I love her and find it difficult to be angry, but I feel that the only way she'll appreciate what she has is by losing it, or at least some of it. What should I do? Edit. Thank you for all the advice. This has been really helpful for me. I just wanted to give you an update of what I have put into motion since this has all happened. Speak to a lawyer. I spoke with one last week. He gave me some great advice at the time I was staying with a friend, and he told me I needed to go back home. In my state, there is an abandonment clause, and she could say I deserted her and the kids, so I'm back home sleeping in the basement. He also told me I have enough evidence to prove she committed adultery, and because of that, I may not have to pay her alimony. Child support, obviously. Yes, but not a penny more. He did also tell me, whatever I do, don't have sex with her. If I do, I'm condoning the affair and have no grounds to say she committed adultery. He told me that he advises his women clients to try and get in their husband's pants if they cheated on him. Protect your assets. I have opened up a new checking account in my name and have already changed my direct deposit to this account. I canceled all of our joint credit cards and enabled fraud in credit monitoring. Ditch the mother and sister. I spoke with a realtor last week and will be putting my house on the market next month. I told them they will have to sort out a place for themselves after I have sold the house. On another note, my wife did go out and find a job. She's working for her uncle's moving company, making shit. But I hope she can now appreciate what a hard day's work feels like. I'm sure it was in response to the fact that I told her I wouldn't be paying for the boarding or feed of her horse anymore. That, and when I canceled her gas card, I had bought her a Lexus X 470. And I can tell you, it isn't cheap filling that sucker up as far as the kids go. I'm doing my best to minimize the impact on them. I won't argue or fight around them, and I make sure they're well taken care of. I think the best thing I have gotten out of this is knowing that it is not my fault and that an issue that needs to try hardest to fix things. Thanks. Edit 8 months later, in a nutshell, I'm doing a lot better. Over the months, I have been on a roller coaster of emotions with highs and lows. For a while, I was severely depressed and in a dark place. It was hard for me to get out of bed in the morning and go to work. In fact, a lot of the time I didn't. I had a lot and still do of pain and anger to work through. My first instinct was to get back at her and really make her feel the consequences of her actions. We decided on a monthly amount of money that I would pay her for child support, which was much more than I was required to pay her by law. But I felt it was the right thing to do at the time. My lawyer drafted up the settlement agreement, and all we had to do was sign knowing what she could expect from me. Each month she found a house for rent, about 45 minutes from the city. It seemed like a nice place for the girls to live, and the schools are really good. I knew she couldn't afford such a nice place closer to town, so I thought it would be good. Part of the settlement agreement was that a non-related member of the opposite sex could not spend the night while the children were present. She can't have her boyfriend sleeping over when the kids are there. This also applied to me. No chicks spending the night when the kids are with me. Now, this provision of the settlement agreement is actually quite common and endorsed by our state. Needless to say, within the first week of her moving into our new place, and before we had a chance to sign the settlement agreement, she had this dickhead sleeping over several nights a week. The kicker is she tried to have the kids lie about it to me. This really pissed me off. I had my lawyer revoke the settlement offer and I told her the new deal was I would give her nothing. Ask for everything and only pay the child support is obligated by the state. Not a penny more. Took her a while to realize she hefty up, but now she is struggling to make ends meet. Don't get me wrong, the kids are well taken care of. I always make sure they have everything they need when it comes to food, clothing, play, and anything else. I just pay for that directly. I don't give the money to her. She still doesn't have a job. She says she's looking, but to be honest, I don't care. It's her problem now, not mine. I started doing CrossFit and have completely transformed myself. It has really helped me through this. I'm in the best shape of my life. I feel amazing and I'm brimming with confidence. Me now. I met a new girl who is amazing. I think I like her so much because she is the polar opposite of my ex. She is smart, extremely successful, beautiful, has ambitions, and we get along great. I'm not diving right back into another relationship. I made that perfectly clear with her from the get-go, and she completely understands what it is we have and is okay with it. Meeting the new girl was really the turning point for me. I now had a friend who I could talk to, spend time with, comfort me, and be intimate with. It lifted my spirits and changed my general mood. I was starting to become happy again. And since then, things have only got better. I was able to let go of a lot of the anger I had towards my ex. My ex and I actually get along really well now. We talk regularly and always put the kids first. I may hate what she did to me, and I will never forget that, but she is the mother of my children, so it's in everyone's best interest that we get along. No, we are not going to get back together. I can never and will never trust her again. But we can be friends and get along. There are certainly things that I will not get over. The son of a bitch who she cheated on me with is one of them. As I told her, I will never accept him or even acknowledge his existence. It would be best especially for him if I never saw him again. There is more if anyone is at all interested. I posted this latest follow-up because someone was curious how things were going. I also just wanted to say thank you to everyone here who provided me with such good advice and support. And if you are going through this yourself, I'm sorry, but be strong. You will get through this story too. My wife cheated on me and I kicked her out. We have a 2-year-old child tonight. My wife of 10 years admitted to sleeping with another person about a year ago. She started a new job at a place lots of people with her education want to be. It was an entry-level job, mostly to get her foot in the door. She was surrounded by driven and successful people while I worked from home and took care of our kid. I have been the only source of income for several years between her jobs. While she didn't work so she could concentrate on getting her degree, and with this job, that doesn't pay much. Since having our child, we've grown apart. It was slow and subtle, not really apparent until it was too late when we realized what was happening. We began scrambling to figure out a path forward. We both started individual therapy and wanted to start couples counseling, but between our demanding work schedules and our 2-year-old, finding the time was impossible. Aside from starting therapy, I also quit smoking, started working out, and picked up all of the household chores. I wanted her to be able to focus on her career and not feel burdened by coming home. I was just trying to give her everything I could to help her be happy. Last night we had a really good conversation. We didn't hold anything back, but with the understanding that we wanted to keep moving forward. We talked about past behaviors that led us to this point. We talked about plans for the future, and we agreed that the most important thing in our lives was our child. We agreed that we wanted to be the type of parents he could learn from and admire. And we agreed to hold each other accountable to that with weekly scheduled times, to have those conversations. Towards the end of this conversation, I noticed she received a phone notification from a different messaging app, and she dismissed it faster than ever. I recognized the app icon and got a very brief glimpse of the message. An alarm started ringing in my head. Shortly after, she said she wanted to sleep in separate rooms, as if it were part of the earlier conversation, and went to bed tonight while she gave our child a bath. Curiosity got the best of me, and I saw some messages that I wish I hadn't. Shaking uncontrollably while the reality sunk in, I took a screenshot and sent it to myself, only to realize that her phone was receiving some of my phone's messages. I kept calm, and once our kid was asleep, I asked if she was cheating on me. She said no. Then I asked, "Who is Dylan?" She just said a coworker. And then I quoted one of his vulgar messages. Eventually, she admitted to sleeping with him. Dylan was a familiar name. He was pretty high up in her office, having recently gotten a promotion. He's older in his 50s and was also very supportive of my wife taking a specific career path. He's also married with kids. I saw that she was on the phone with him for 30 minutes, making her late to the special dinner I cooked at her request. The moment she admitted to sleeping with him, I told her to leave. I could barely see anything, barely hear anything other than the words leaving my body. Get the FK out. We argued for a while. She didn't want to leave our child. He felt like she was too out of touch to understand the consequences of what she had done. If I leave, I'm taking our kid with me. I don't know how many ways I tried to tell her that wasn't going to happen. Eventually, she left. I don't know where she went. Something I'm not proud of is that before she even pulled out of the driveway, I called her office and let them know she had an affair with someone as high up as Dylan. Even now, less than an hour after making that call, I recognize there was definitely a shitty thing to do. I also reported the debit card for our joint account as lost. I feel less shitty about that. She can still just transfer the money out. I don't know what to do from here. My sister told me not to do anything, to kind of sit with it, at least for now. I spoke with her father about it, and he just kept saying that forgiveness is powerful. I guess I'll be spending tomorrow finding a lawyer and exploring my options. I'm scared for what that means for our child. I don't know how divorce in my state works, but I'm worried that she'll still get custody of our kid, and that I'll have to pay alimony and child support. I'm struggling financially as is, though that is at least in part because of my wife's spending habits. What can I do? How do I move past this? What will happen to our child? I'm scared of these questions and scared about what the answers might be. I'm just devastated. I'd like advice on moving forward. How can I start healing? What can I do to keep custody of our child? What can I do so I don't have to pay alimony or child support? TLDR, wife cheated on me with a high-ranking person in her office. Story 3. Revenge on cheating wife, now ex, as well as the karma that came afterwards. So I am in the army and I was married. I was approaching my first deployment to Iraq. It was very stressful, and it hit my wife wanting me to find a way to stay and not deploy. Obvious things any wife would try to talk about. Anyway, so we have no kids, but both want them. So we talk about getting out of debt while I'm gone. She talks to her best friend back home in another state where we are both from. Her friend agrees to let her move in and charge a modest $300 in rent so that we can get out of debt and start a family. When I come back, a plan I was actually very pleased with, I deploy. She is there crying her eyes out, saying she will miss me and loves me, and we will start a family when we get back. Fast forward 2 months. She starts acting distant, not wanting to talk much on our schedule calls or text back 1 or 2 word answers. We've been together 6 years and she is never at a loss for words. Anyway, one day she says, "I need some space." She asks someone who is 10,000 miles away for space. I say, why? She says she just needs space. She wants to find herself. So I remember back when we lived at home, she had a guy who was always being borderline inappropriate. I'm not a very jealous person and I trust her. So I start seeing said guy and basically all her pictures she posts with a group every time he is in the picture. Everyone else changes, but never him. So I clone her phone, so I receive every text she receives as well as every text she sends. I'll never forget the first text I saw after cloning her phone. Hey babe, I'll see you after work. Want me to save you any of my leftovers from her to him? It destroyed me. I lost pound 35 in a week. I didn't eat or sleep. I stared at the phone, watching every conversation, watching them talk about trying to have a baby. It was literally everything a married person fears. I ask her if she is seeing someone, and she says no, she isn't. She is taking care of herself and she loves me. Blah blah. I didn't say anything about receiving her texts for 2 months. Over this time, she finally admits cheating and that he is so much better than me at sex treating her right. And he does what she wants. During this time, she pays our debt off, gets tattoos with him matching. I love you tattoos, goes to shows with him buying clothes, ECT with the money I'm making. So this is where revenge starts. I put a freeze on the account for a month. In that time, I change every password to every account of things. She won't guess. I block her on FBI and my phone so she has no way to contact me. She lost her car to repo a few months later, got kicked out of her place, had to sell her prized shoes and purses just to stay alive. I then found out she got a job at her old restaurant. So I post all the text conversations I have with her and the guy talking about having babies that have timestamps on it, as well as post conversations we had with the matching timestamps, showing all of our friends what she has done. I then have friends call and complain at her job constantly on both he and her. They work at a restaurant, so I also have friends dine and dash. They both get fired. So she tries to call my command and tell them that I am abandoning her and she can't provide for herself. My commander knows what is going on. He does nothing because he had something similar happen. Then, about a month before I come back, she calls me from another number to tell me she's pregnant with his kid. Mind you, I'm still gone, so we cannot get divorced yet. She moved away with him 10 hours for me. April 24th, 2018. She calls me 5 months pregnant, crying uncontrollably, asking me where she should go. Apparently, they have a giant blow-up fight and she tells him she is leaving. She says she doesn't know where to go, and I simply say, sorry, not my problem anymore. Fast forward January of this year. She calls me from a mutual friend's phone. Her. He hit me. IDK what to do. Me. Maybe you don't cheat on your husband when he is deployed for some guy who talks a big game. Her. Well, I guess you are happy about this. Me no, but I'm glad. I know I'm not the bad guy in this story. And then the next month, her. He is cheating on me with 2 girls. I'm sorry. I regret everything I did. I left it all up. Me? Yes, you did. All in all, this woman destroyed my life. Put me into a deep depression I'm still dealing with. But I do feel a little better having proof that I wasn't the problem. Do you think if this happened even 10 or 5 years ago, I would have come back to an empty bank account, an empty house, as well as seeing my then wife pregnant with another man's baby? She actually hit me up yesterday to ask for some money to help cover rent. Edit. Answer a few questions. I realized I left out that we got divorced before the kid was born, so I have no financial responsibility to her. Haven't now for almost a year. I mainly use T-Mobile's digital service to clone the phone. Google it. I don't feel like typing it. Also knew I wasn't celebrating that she was physically abused. I did tell her to call the cops, but that's all I did. It's not right to abuse someone, but I also have no responsibility to watch out for her well-being.